Hello. This is Irene. This is Irene with Sauga Talks today. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. I'm so excited because Friday looks bright and sunny in Connecticut where I am. And the main reason why I feel so good is because with me today co-hosting our joint Sauga Talks and Coruzant Tech Talk, Brian Thomas. Hello, Brian. How are you?
Awesome, Irene. Thank you for having me on today, and I'm very privileged to be your co-host today. I'm really excited, and it's sunny here in Kansas City as well.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So hopefully Friday will be the day when we can go on air and talk about tech stuff. Tech stuff with interesting people. So today it's just two of us. I think it's going to be a good time because we have a good program ahead. We'll talk about tech trends, but we're going to talk about journey in tech. And to me, journey in tech, this is where do you start? This is how do you find your inner drive to get ahead? And Brian is fantastic co-host on this topic. Brian picked me, I picked Brian for the reason because I'm impressed, Brian. I'm impressed with your story. You are Divergent CIO. That's how you call yourself on Twitter. Talk to me about this a little bit, Divergent CIO.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you again, Irene. So my journey in tech is, like you, Irene, been many, many years, but I decided several years ago as a chief information officer, I wanted to kind of build that brand around myself. And this I could cover a lot of ground with this, but I decided to, I created my profile, I created my own website, and I just started dabbling with social media. And then I figured, maybe you need to start writing some articles. So I would write articles, and I wanted to take that to the next level. So I started contributing to CIO.com and the Greater IDG Network and other large publications like that. And slowly but surely, the social media started following, and Divergent CIO was my brand. It was kind of synonymous with Brian Thomas, the CIO. One thing led to another, and I could really go into details, but 70,000 social media followers later, and being featured in Harvard Business Review and that sort of thing, kind of really got me to this point today. And I think this is what really it jettisoned me to this point where I actually got to connect with you, and we chatted several times. You were on my podcast, which I'm going to be sharing out today. It's exciting. And so thank you. And this journey's been fun.
You know what? You are way too brief for the topic because I'm amazed. So can we go into details a little bit? Because those details can be of value of those who just starting out or who may be mid-career. So you told me you're a developer, right? You started on programming side years ago. Talk to me.
Yeah. So back to the career, I've been in tech quite a number of years, mostly on the healthcare side, but I've been in public sector and worked for a large Fortune 100 company as well. But it all started out being a developer. To give you some of the genesis to my career is a long time ago, our family owned a Commodore 64. And so I started to dabble, and you can't do a whole lot with computers back then on a green screen or an amber screen, right? But I learned that you could actually write some code to develop cool things. And so a friend of mine, we actually did some animation, very basic stuff. And then I wrote a simple accounting program for the family back then. And so I've always been inspired by technology, just anything new. Sci-fi kind of sparked that as a child. And from there, it grew. And so, I've done just about everything in tech that you can think of across a broad spectrum. But, I quickly learned that people are the things that really drive me. And so that's how I kind of moved into leadership early on in my career and became a senior executive in technology. So that's been exciting for me. I would love to share all my knowledge today in 1 hour or less to the whole world if that would help anybody. And I'm all about helping others.
Wonderful. You know what? This resonates with me. No wonder we are collaborating here because you know what? Let me bring my experience here because coding, when people think about coding nowadays, right? And of course, governments, companies encouraging people to take interest in technology because frankly, we need so much many engineers than we have now, right? We need so many people who are really interested, who will be able to take part in this new economy. So for me, what drew me into development, because I started my career here in the United States. I came right after college. Okay, it was day before yesterday. Yeah, day before yesterday, kind of. Right. As a spring chicken of age 24, right? I came to this country and I had to realize quickly, you know, what is the good profession? What is the good industry I can apply myself to? And my background is science, not technical. I mean, physicist, look at me, physicist. So first it was, of course, research and some academia, maybe, right? But then I just realized, and that's the advice for everyone who kind of considering, you know, starting new profession, you know, changing the way they take themselves, right? So for me, it was kind of realizing where can I apply myself with everything I has to offer, you know? It's not just the education. It's not your background. To me, my background led to physics of semiconductors, which will be either very scientific academic application, right? Or it will be some manufacturing and there's thriving industry out there, right? But I happen to be in New York City. And New York City is not exactly the field of manufacturing a lot of diodes or semiconductor devices, all right? So for me to move way somewhere else was not quite an option at the time. So again, it's very opportunistic. And for me, it was, what can I do with who I am, with background I have, with good training I received, but at the same time, what is it I want to be? You know, so that was the answer that I had to actually retrieve from myself, you know, somewhere deep down, right? Just take my whole personality in. And then I realized, hey, there's a absolutely thriving software development industry, technology industry in this country. Where else but not here to really look what's coming to you, okay? And at the time, thanks to, not promoted, but thanks to Oracle Corporation, they did invent structured databases at the time, mid-90s, okay? And it's their wave that actually were going very high at the time, right? And it's a wave where I opened a single book. I can tell you, I didn't even take classes. I did not go anywhere to get a specific training. I took the book on SQL. So my history, I hope it is applicable for everyone who is listening, because single book changed my life. It's not a joke. It's not a story. It's a real life experience. Single book with how to retrieve the data, how to query the databases without even going into database administration and heavy Unix stuff, operating system stuff, right? That came later. But for me, the hook was kind of, hey, I like data. I can manipulate that data. I can learn interesting techniques, you know, that makes bunch of numbers, bunch of reports, right, into something meaningful for business. And for business, it means people. And for people, it means, you know, new incomes and new. So I did think kind of from the broad picture, but really was so happy that at the time it was thriving field, if you remember, right? And I applied myself and never looked back. So what was your story in terms of what was like first aha moment? Like, hey, I can code. Hey, I can be productive.
Yeah, so my very first one, as I mentioned, was back in high school on the Commodore 64. But the next inspiration was, and like you, I picked up a book. It was databases. I love databases. But I actually jumped into a program that's really, it's a legacy app at this point. Microsoft bought it out. But at the time, it was the fastest relational database, which was FACHT Pro. And I jumped in right when they moved from the DOS version to the visual FACHT Pro. And that was a bunch of fun. And that really lit me on fire. And I was able to do some really cool things with that. And so back during that time in my career, early in my career, it was a lot of fun, learning something new, building something, coming out with the results that you were hoping or expecting. That was obviously a lot of times there's the trial and tribulation of writing code, as you know, but the debugging of code. But it was really a journey, and from there, just really, again, building things makes me really excited.
Let me pick up on that point. That's exactly what I wanted to bring up. Look, I'm getting what you're saying, because building, this is like we were children, right? We like to put things together. Hopefully we like to break them apart for sure, okay, to see how they work. But building things, right? This is exactly what, to me, programming, coding, creating is about, in a way that you take components, some known to you better, some not. You have to research, you have to learn more. But the beauty of it, right, that you're building something out of probably not much or nothing at all, right? Mm-hmm. And that what takes you, even debugging, or troubleshooting the problem when it's in production and it's your piece of code that went into production and part of the business depending on you, just you. This is amazing feeling. So if anybody needs to be convinced to go and check out the whole industry out there, talk to me, talk to Brian, because it is an amazing feeling. It's like launching. It's launching to space your own ship, your own invention. Don't you think that's amazing feeling? Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely an amazing feeling. Just that alone is awesome. But then when you take it to the next level, like you said, it actually goes into production and people use it. I built several different, back at the time, they were like case management systems for a law firm I did. And I did many other systems using that tool, FoxPro at the time. And it was just awesome to see that I was able to meet a customer's needs, and I put a big smile on their face. And that's kind of what led me into, I think, management. Well, I know is really because that people connection. And the people connection took it even a step further, because, that customer experience that I talk and write about is so important to me and so valuable. And we've all had that bad experience as a customer, right? And we've also had good experiences. And so that was really, again, if I was shifting gears from developer to management leadership, that was the bulb that went off there is really around customer satisfaction, the customer experience, just even your internal customers. It was so important to me. So, but that was it. I think that just catapulted me through my career, and I've learned so much from others. I'm still learning today, obviously, and I'm learning a lot from you. So that was my journey to that point in my career. So maybe you could tell us a little bit more about how you kind of transitioned, Irene.
I will be happy to. I love talk about myself, my favorite person in the world. I hope people get the joke over here, right? Yeah. So no, I'm happy. I'm happy to share what I've learned, because it was quite a journey for me, as you can imagine. Okay, so I mentioned that I did start with relational databases, right? Having fun, building applications together. And at the time, when again for a few months you work on that piece of code, I'll go back. I know what your question is about. I'll get to that. Believe me, I know. But I just wanted to share the piece of excitement. This very first application, when I was putting it in production, I was telling everyone, my friends, my family, that the most important thing in my life right now is member enrollment system, okay? And that was a fantastic healthcare insurance company, new and thriving here in Connecticut at the time. And the whole member enrollment system was depending on me, putting that enrollment application procedure, SQL procedure, in production. And the feeling, again, going back to feelings, because technology is a lot about people. It's a lot about feelings. It's a lot about, these forces coming together and creating something great. That's why, of course, we've moved a little bit since SQL procedures of those times to what we're handling now. We'll talk about emerging technologies for sure. But going back to the feeling that connects us to our work, tech is amazing field to be actually expressing yourself, right? Finding yourself. So going back from all the coding that I've done, right, and building the systems and enjoying seeing happy customers. Okay, years after that first experience, I did work for commercial client already on IBM behalf. It was Kodak Polychrome Graphics. It was company at the time, Kodak. Yes, Kodak. No more. But at the time they were thriving. So the beautiful part of it that I did put yet another Oracle application together for sales compensation system, and seeing the head of the entire sales department at Kodak Polychrome Graphics at the moment, okay, seeing that, hey, everything I need to do in my daily life, it's all automated, it's all provided by Irene. And this ownership, okay, besides that I was part of huge organization, IBM Global Business Services, okay, we were distributed in a bunch of sites, but point is that that piece belonged to me, and the sense of ownership that I make all the difference, okay, when it comes to making this particular sales executive life better, that is the amazing feeling. So with that, I took it further. I had this opportunity because with Global Business Services I was part of, as huge as that part of IBM was and still is, right? There's still a way to kind of realize your next calling. And my next calling was project management. Okay, overseeing the larger deployments, overseeing like bunch of engineers, testers, architects, support teams, bunch of like larger teams globally. That's another aspect, amazing what we can do now, right? Globally. So, and again, I was in charge of another mission, launching huge updates, huge deployments, huge renewals, okay, on the big side that supported all of IBM business partners. Every business partner has access to that portal at the time. I'm using that language, right, from those years.
Yeah.
That portal. And Irene is in charge of deploying the new version of that portal. So that was quite, again, very fulfilling mission. It's no different from what people doing right now, right, with Elon Musk and Tesla. But the feeling is absolutely, yes, understandable to me. So that from really tech, nuts and bolts, right, to people and bigger things, again, that's also, you grow as a person, you grow as a professional, right? So what came next after for me, and again, I'm describing it in details for someone who is hopefully listening and who will be able to sort of learn, not everything but bits and pieces. Because the whole point of us going on air, taking time and taking people's time today is really providing like bunch of pointers. Okay, for someone who is more technical, maybe they do want to stay longer with technology itself, right, and become absolute best in their field. For those who are more talkative, they can talk about technology on air. They can team up with a bunch of podcasters and wonderful talent out there, right, and just spread the good word and just bring the news to people, right? For those who are graphical, who have graphic inclinations, right, they can create fantastic content around what people are building or what people are talking about. So I really want to broaden up this field, this opportunity for everybody who is thinking about it, because if you're already thinking, you are halfway there. Mm-hmm. Don't you think, Brian?
Absolutely. And that's the other thing, people say, especially around entrepreneurs, I interview a ton of entrepreneurs and CEOs on my podcast show, but, you've got to have that passion. And once you have it, like you said, if you're thinking about it or you have some passion or some fire there, you need to go after it. And, just doing it, even it takes consistency, right? But just keep doing it. Before you know it, you have a snowball. And I talked a little bit about my story early on, how it just kind of blossomed. And I had no idea that wasn't my intention. I think most of us want, when it comes to fame and fortune, I think most people just want the fortune, not the fame, but sometimes the fame comes with it, right? So that's just something that was, I think, a side effect of what I was doing. And so, but to your point, I think if you have something that you're passionate about, or you want to change careers, and gosh, you might have been working 10 years in a particular field or industry, and if you want to change, then go do it. that's what you got to do. So I appreciate your story. That's awesome.
Good, good, good. So, Brian, you said something I do want to pick up on is you mentioned, yes, starting articles, right? Writing articles for CIO.com, which is huge publication, right? With fantastic talent represented. So how do you find this step from, again, coding, from managing and leading people, right? To finding that inner calling, hey, I can write, I can publish. Where did that come from?
Again, that goes back to my purpose, or why I want to serve. Of course, we're all a little bit selfish. We want to do something for ourselves and in our career. And obviously that was a part of the journey there. But I know that I have a lot of knowledge. I've mentored a lot of people. I'm mentoring people today, as a matter of fact. And giving back to one person is great. But if you could give back to 100 people, 10 people, 1,000, 1,000,000, right? Some of my articles have gotten quite a few reads. And, I'm not here to brag about that. I'm just here about, gosh, I've actually touched some lives. Maybe there's something a little nugget they could gain from reading that article. So I think that's important, is the journey. And to your question, Irene, is just get out there and do it. The CIO.com contribution is just one of the platforms that I've contributed to, but that allowed me to reap the rewards. At first, I didn't know what it's going to be like, but as things started to grow, it got me really excited. And this goes back, the same type of passion got me excited about this as I did first in my career when I was building those applications in FACHT Pro, right? So that's what inspired me. And my journey it's interesting now as I host this digital publication myself and talk to great people like yourself, CEOs. I've interviewed several dozen CEOs, tech unicorns, Silicon Valley executives from all around the world. I've got 30 countries on the list now. And that just inspires me. That just gets me excited. And now I'm sharing their stories with the world. So it's just, this is going to be huge. And I'm glad that you gave me the opportunity to jump on your show and help. We're helping each other in a sense. So thank you.
Talk to me about Coruzant Tech, because it is quite a publication. I've read a few articles by amazing leaders, influencers over there who are willing to contribute, right? This is also an amazing wave of people goodwill, I think, right now around tech, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. I like to brag. It's the largest crowdsourced tech publication in the world, because I've literally received contributions, been on a podcast, connected with people in over 30 countries, as I mentioned. And so, and this is what the genesis of the Coruzant idea came from, all the work I did when I was contributing articles and speaking and that sort of thing, and trying to build that brand. Is little did I know, and I'll share this, it's not really a secret, but many who don't know this, is I became an influencer in the PR and journalism world, and I had no idea. And so all of a sudden I started getting spammed from agencies all over North America, Europe, South America, people. And finally I said, can you all stop sending emails every day? And they said, well, you're an influencer on this site. It's called muckrack.com. You can find me in there. So I looked myself up, and there I was, and I had no idea. And now I have more work than I know what to do with. So this is exciting. And I get to actually talk with amazing people every single week from around the world. And we support women in tech, women in STEM, women leaders. I think that's amazing. You can see all the women that we featured and have done interviews on, and it's just awesome. We've had NASA rocket scientists, women NASA rocket scientists. We've had all kinds of people that are well known, people that were on Joe Rogan's podcast, on my show. It's just kind of blown up, and that wasn't my intention, but I'm pretty excited to have that opportunity.
That's a great problem to have, Brian. That's a great problem. More work, that means more engagement, right?
Yes,
more fantastic talks, fantastic people you meet with, and fantastic topics, right, to bring to the audiences. So where are you going to take Coruzant Tech next? Because I do want to,
Well, there's a pretty cool place in Connecticut, supposedly, next to the Sauga River. Yeah, that supposedly there's some lands, a building, and I'm going to build my brick and mortar right there, so I can just knock on your door. It would be cool. I could just step across through this screen and, hey, we don't have to co-host from across the country. We could do it in Connecticut, right?
This is fantastic plan. Looks like you all figured it all out, Brian.
I figured it out already.
Absolutely. It's all very well prepared, and I will make sure that fine citizens around New England who speak like this nowadays. So if you haven't visited lately, that's how they speak. No, my accent comes from Russia. So if I forgot to mention it, yes, many years ago, day before yesterday, yes, I came to this country, but this accent is gonna stay. So going back to Connecticut, yes, I am in Connecticut, next to Sauga River. Sauga River, it's a beautiful name. I'm sure it came from centuries ago, let me put it this way. Sounds like very Native American to me. Sauga, very well preserved, picturesque, completely picturesque Sauga River. So when I started a talk show, of course, the natural name was Sauga Talks, because I will talk, and it's something, when people ask, what's Sauga? And some people even addressing me, they saying, hi, Sauga. Okay, hello, yes, my name is Irene, right? But the name of the show is Sauga Talks. So, Brian, your landing mission in Connecticut, yes, the happy crowds will be meeting you here with bands, with marching bands, with all the confetti, and absolutely all the festivities waiting to happen. So this is a hint for our audience that we're gonna continue collaborating.
Absolutely.
If anything, next week we already have our fantastic first joint guest, Ingrid Vassiliou-Feltes.
Correct.
Who is, first of all, we're gonna link her article here in this talk, because she's a fantastic technology leader, but she's a doctor. She's a medical doctor who is leading a lot of innovative work around health tech and health tech innovation. We're gonna talk about AR, VR, we're gonna talk about 5G and all the trends that Ingrid is seeing out there, because all I know that she's also teaching. She's teaching MBA students. She's all over the world now, virtually at conferences. She's going to be fantastic sort of information, so stay tuned for next week's session. For today, Brian, I do want to go into publishing world a little bit deeper.
Okay, sure.
Because our journey again is somehow, it's interesting. Somehow it has very common points here and there, because everyone is a podcaster now. I shouldn't say everyone, a lot of podcasts out there. Yes, a lot. To stand out, you really need to be interesting and of value to the audiences, right?
Absolutely.
So when I started looking at emerging tech and specific insights, point of views, because people don't want lectures anymore. They want point of views, opinions, and very, snack size kind of bites, to take from conversation. So, Brian, I love the article that you published in CIO.com. It was a few months ago. I love
the crowdsource article.
It's very current. There, you do talk about, and again, we're going to link the link here with the video, but for now, if you could comment for us, you do talk about enterprise use cases for the virtual reality. And the reason it brought my attention, because VR, we see all the futuristic, fantastic demos, videos, all gamification, all cool kind of future coming, next. All right. You're talking about very practical use cases that enterprises now implementing. And that's what grounded me in reality, because as you, I'm a practitioner, right? I do want to see how things, right, how new technology being adapted. So could you please talk a little bit, right? Which use cases draw your attention to write this article?
Absolutely. So you're absolutely right. There was a piece that many of my peers and colleagues across the world has contributed to that particular article. And really, my focus was on the enterprise side of, how could we, this is during the pandemic, right? Travel's restricted, even classrooms, kids have to be at home. So they're designing, in fact, I've met and interviewed people that do some really amazing work in VR, AR, mixed reality, extended reality, all that. But, we can certainly cut costs down, and I'm not trying to say we should do this because hospitality industries, travel industries have been hit the hardest, and I'm not saying we shouldn't do that. But when you're forced because of a budget or a pandemic, you should look at different technologies or solutions to address something as best you can. I think a lot of people you've heard recently, because of the pandemic, they have this cabin fever. They're locked in. They can't talk to people. They can't see people. Well, virtual reality and AR allows you to immerse yourself into a conversation with other people virtually. And there's little to no cost to attending these types of events. And now they're becoming mainstream. There's a company, I'm sure they don't mind that I mentioned, but AR, Next Tech AR is awesome. They actually provide augmented reality advertisements that literally pop out of your monitor screen, and that's with no goggles or anything. And it's pretty cool. And I had Evan Gappelberg, he's the CEO and founder of that company, and I had him on the podcast, and he talked about some of the amazing things they're doing, and it's just exploding. A lot of industries did suffer through the pandemic, but on the flip side, others, it was a silver lining. Their business exploded 300%. So anyway, I don't want to belabor the point, but as you can see, because of, I think the pandemic has accelerated this innovation in the VR space, that people are actually rolling out things that they thought would never happen in 10 years.
I can only agree, because again, of all these sources, right, all the articles we see out there, right, it attributes to increased collaboration. You mentioned productivity, right? I am personally very much interested in virtual events. In virtual events, again, when conferences will become hybrid after pandemic is over, right? If not completely virtual, we will have some hybrid models out there, right? When people can attend, some in the room, some all over the world. And that VR experience will be amazing. And again, Ingrid Vasilou-Feltes attended one of the other live streams I was part of, and she brought a fantastic examples of really feeling in the room, connecting with people better, networking, collaborating. So where do you think the future is going to be with VRs there?
It's already virtual now, but as soon as the pandemic's lifted, it'll be a hybrid, just like you said. People have realized that you can do virtually, no pun intended, anything that you were doing physically. So if you don't have to jump on a plane or rent a hotel space, and you can do everything from the comfort of your business office or home, why not? But I agree, there is a certain aspect to that physical connection and meeting people, and I think that'll still happen once the pandemic lifts. Because if the event's in Charleston, South Carolina, I think local people ought to go and attend it in person, but the people from around the world should absolutely have that option to be there virtually.
Absolutely. And we're finding so many interesting insights now from speakers, okay, who used to fly around the world, which was very tiring, time consuming, right? It takes days to recover from long flights and all that, right? And they had to pick which conferences to attend or speak at, right? And this whole world now is changing in a way that they can speak at 3 different events on the same day. Okay, that future came to us today. Don't you think about all these sci-fi novels, we used to read. Yeah.
Absolutely. Dr. Vasilov Feltes, who will be on the show next week, she does that all the time. She's around the world. They used to say around the world in 80 days. There's a book written, if you remember that, a long time ago.
I do.
And now it's around the world literally in 80 minutes. And it's virtual, but you could be at 3 different meetings in 80 minutes, which is amazing.
Absolutely. So I guess media world, marketing world, sales, right, will benefit first, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about production? What about manufacturing, healthcare, fintech? How do you see them? Because they tend to be a little more conservative in terms of adapting emerging technologies.
Mm-hmm.
What's your view on those?
Yeah, and healthcare, don't mention. Healthcare,
Yeah.
I've been in a long time, and they seem to be the lagging industry, in my opinion. But you're right. I had a gentleman on the podcast. He was actually on the Shark Tank with the sharks, and he talked about the technology they're using because of the pandemic in manufacturing, for example, where they have monitors and the machines are monitoring the productivity of the employee, make sure they're safe, make sure their masks on, all these things. And it's technology that is monitoring it, which I think is simply amazing. You know, when you are in a pandemic environment like we talked about, you have to pivot and innovate. And this is just an example to your point is I think there's a use case. I know there's a use case for every industry out there, even in healthcare. I had another gentleman on the show that does some really cool AR stuff with for surgeries for physicians, which is just amazing. You know, especially think about that. If you're going to be operated on, you know, and you've got someone that just left their residency, right? Well, they've got some experience, but what's cool is they're actually able to really spend more time on a virtual patient and learn more without harming anybody and getting more experience. And that's the way I look at it from a patient safety standpoint. But yeah, there's a ton of, there's 1,000 use cases. I've had over 250 guests on the show. Many of them talked about they're in the VR, AR space, and it's just amazing.
We're gonna link those talks in this video, right, for those who wants to explore further.
Yeah.
But I'm with you because learning and training, right, safety training, this is a fantastic application. It's like even teaching kids, you know, some safety procedures, right, in case of emergencies, in case of any, you know, disasters out there. So this is fantastic application for technology. Question is, who is going to invest in those? How they will be funded, right? What kind of adoption procedure and adoption actually transformational initiatives will take place. So in terms of digital, Brian, we don't need to convince anybody that we all gone through digital transformation, in few days, right? Once pandemic hit. So how's it on your side? Digital transformation around what Coruzant Tech and, you know, companies you're working with?
Yeah, obviously digital transformation, I think, gets thrown around a little bit too much, but it is truly something that everybody needs to look at and learn about, and not just the technologists, not the CTOs or CIOs or chief digital officers. You know, boards and CEOs need to learn more about what business or digital transformation means. And it's a journey. It's not just, oh, I can flip the switch and do a project and, you know, we do some process improvement and we're great. No, it's a journey and it's ongoing, and people need to understand that. But as far as the pandemic, as digital transformation, I think has accelerated 500%, meaning that, again, going back to shifting and pivoting, people literally, their income streams stopped when the pandemic hit and the lockdown. So what do? Either it's fight or flight. You go into a panic, or you say, no, stay calm. Let's bring out the whiteboarding sessions and start figuring out how we shift to meet our customers' needs or to keep the business alive. And you and I both have done this. And I think because of the pandemic, the silver lining for us, Irene, is this virtual world that blew up on LinkedIn and blew up on podcasting is here. And we were there at the right time. And so now we're actually reaping some of the benefits.
Fantastic, fantastic. Guess who is watching us here? Guess who is watching us on Facebook right now? Dr. Ingrid Vasilou-Feltes herself. Hello, Ingrid. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We're kicking off something important here because Ingrid likes our duo, Brian. You know,
Great.
and this is a healthy grain of encouragement we receive that we need very much because we're starting something new. Right? Mm-hmm. We're experimenting with new formats. So instead of being on Clubhouse and just providing audio, we want to still do video with people and we bring more guests. I think for me, visual encouragement is more than less. So we'll stay with live streams for a few weeks. We'll see how that goes and we'll hope it will resonate. It will resonate with the audience. Brian, I think we've done well today in a way that we did introduce this series. So we're going to be bringing the fantastic experts, the influencers, the opinion makers in their respective fields, right? And we're all happy to share here on SaugaTalks, on Coruzant Tech, right? And we absolutely will make the replays available. And stay tuned, connect with Brian, connect with me on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Check out the blogs we're gonna link to in this video, and we will see everybody next Friday.
Yes, this is exciting. And Irene, thank you for doing this. I think this is a great way for us to share the wealth of knowledge that not just you and I have, but with this global audience of thought leaders and people that are making a difference in the world. And like I said, we've got some great guests lined up, and Dr. Ingrid Vasilou-Feltes, I always mispronounce that, but we're so excited to have her. She's just doing some amazing things. So thanks again, Irene, for opening up this platform to an amazing journey and knowledge for the world.
Absolutely. We'll see everybody next week. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Bye for now.